Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session on cultivating a community of practice to enhance game-based learning and high-impact practices. We are very excited to be presenting to you today a project we've been working very hard on at our university to expand our faculty and staff's professional learning community and scholarship. So we can start off by introducing ourselves. My name is Reagan Laborde, and I'm an instructional designer at the University of North Texas Health Science Center in Fort Worth, Texas. I will let my colleagues unmute and introduce themselves. I'll start with Jiaqi.
All right, thank you, Reagan. Hi, my name is Jiaqi Yu. I'm an assistant director at the Division of Academic Innovation at UNTHSC. So here we have our team is primarily working with our educator, designing online courses face-to-face and a lot of other educational research as well. I will hand it over to Dala to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Darla Gruben. I'm faculty at the University of North Texas Health Science Center, and we are starting a College of Nursing. So I'm the founding faculty, so that's exciting times. And so thankful we have help from instructional designers.
All right, thank you guys. So we're going to start with going over our objectives really fast for the session. So we first want to identify key high impact practices in health science education, including many different things that we'll talk about today. Next, we want to describe the strategic plan that we have on implementing and researching high impact practices on our campus by a community of practice. So lastly, we're going to discuss strategies for establishing a community of practice focused on high impact practices in health science education. So really quick, our agenda, we are going to ask our participants to participate in a quick poll in just a moment to learn more about your current role and if you have any experience with communities of practice or learning communities. Then we're going to introduce the HSC Scholarship of Teaching and Learning Collective. We will provide an overview of high impact practices, a community of practice, and then allow time for another poll and Q&A. So I am going to ask our participants to go to vvox.app. You can also scan the QR code here if you have like your phone or tablet and answer the question here, just what is your current role? So we have some options to make it easier. So we have faculty, researcher, instructional designer, instructional technologist or ed tech, administration or other. So, and just while you are answering this, and I will start a timer, I realized I could do that. So maybe about a minute, I think is fair. Oh, a minute and a half, that's fine too. So while you're answering this question, just a little bit about this platform. This is vVox. It's just an online polling tool that we use here at HSC. And there's plenty of different question types. There's, word clouds, multiple choice, all those types of things. And then it's really cool. You can use your branding too. So that was something neat that I learned. So it looks like we have like 14 participants, 2 left to answer. So we'll let them answer and then we'll close the poll. Hopefully this was easy to log into. Okay, so we have everyone answered already. Oop, let me go back. Okay, there we go. So looks like we have a large percentage of instructional designers. We have a few faculty administration, and then just under the category of others. So that's helpful in tailoring our session just a little bit. Next, we have just one more. So we'll give about like 30 seconds on this one since hopefully you're already on the platform. So do you have any experience with the community of practice, PLC, which is professional learning community or other learning community in your current role? Okay, just another few seconds and then I'll close it. Okay. So we have kind of half and half. We have 56% said no, they do not have experience with the professional learning community, and then 43% said yes. So good little mix there. So hopefully you can find some strategies as we're talking today about how we're implementing this on our campus. So I'm going to go back to the presentation really fast. Excuse me while I move some things around. Okay. Alrighty, we already did our poll. Okay, so now I'm going to pass it over to Jiaqi to talk a little bit about this Scholarship of Teaching and Learning collective as a whole.
Thank you, Reagan. Before we dive into the high impact practice COP, I just want to spend a few minutes to share a little bit about the background and context so you can get a sense of what we have been working on and where this come from. So here at the UNTHSC, we are starting a new program we call HSC Scholarship on Teaching and Learning Collective. And we use the acronym HSC SOTO Collective and to represent this new initiative we're launching this year. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, in one word, and we name it HSC SOTO Collective, and we want to launch this as a cohort-based, peer-led professional development program to advance educational research here at HSC. Our goal is to foster a culture to value SOTO in health science education, but we also want to create a innovative ecosystem to help our faculty and staff member here to cultivate their professional growth and also foster some meaningful collaboration. So this is a brand new initiative we're going to launch next month, and we have a kickoff event. Our team has been working really hard on planning that. And also we're planning to do, this is the first cohort, so we're going to wrap it up at the end of this academic year around May 2025. And our team is also tentatively planning to do a one-day virtual conference we call the HSC SOTO Conference. So that would allow all the participants to showcase and demonstrate and present whatever kind of deliverable they developed through this collective. The next slide. And as a part of this HSC SOTO collective, and we are planning to launch 4 community of practice. One of them, the project management COP, that is something we already started piloting last year, and we currently have about 50 active members from the entire university. And the other 3 are, one is focused on generative AI, and one is a high impact practice we're going to focus on today. And we have one more about high flex learning. So one existing COP and another 3 brand new COP that we're launching as a part of this program. And each of the COP is kind of co-led by one of our instructional designer from our team and also by another faculty member from HSC. So each COP, they will just work together and determine their own purpose and their goal and also what are the deliverable. So we have some guideline behind the scene we're providing to all the COP leader about how to plan about their COP. So we have a little bit consistent structure and guideline, but also each COP is really also have their own unique structure and also purpose to kind of frame their own. All right, the next one. And then just a little bit about community practice. So this is part of the guideline because we kind of provided some kind of best practices to our COP leader as they plan for their COP. We want them to consider about these 3 fundamental elements. What is the domain? So that will be the topic, what are the focus and the topic of your COP. So typically that will create a common ground and also a sense of common identity for the group member. So they know this is the purpose we're going to work on together. The community part, we're referring about the social fabric. That typically means like how they're going to interact with each other. Is this maybe typically a hybrid or asynchronous or virtual only platform for people to connect with each other? And as a COP, you definitely need to create a space to facilitate the member to interact with each other on a regular basis. So this might look like differently. Someone maybe do asynchronous monthly, or they may also have some asynchronous interaction on a weekly basis. The last one will be the practice. So that refers to a set of framework, tools, and also repository. So typically we recommend each of the COP, they're going to have their defined deliverable. This could be a research project or some kind of best practices white paper. So any of the deliverable. At the same time, and as a community member interact with each other, they're also going to develop a repository with all the resources and all the new things they share with each other. So each of the COP, they're kind of just going to also kind of revisit and talk about how they're going to build up their domain and establish their community and also define their practice for their own COP. All right, so now I'm going to just pass over to Reagan, and she will kind of share a little bit more about the high impact practice COP, all the awesome work they have been doing in the past few months to plan for the launch. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jiaqi. So now that Jiaqi has kind of gone over the overview of SOTL, the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning Collective, we're going to focus specifically on the high impact practices community of practice. This is the one that I, as the instructional designer, and Darla, as the faculty, are co-leading. I do want to address the question really quick in the chat about the platform that we're using. This is Canva. This is, we built all of our slides on Canva, and yeah, very customizable. But anyways, okay. So our high impact practices community of practice, or HIPCOP is kind of what we like to call it, will be a collaborative group of HSC faculty and staff. It's mostly going to be faculty just because that's who's interacting with students on a daily basis. And we'll focus on enhancing educational experiences through high impact learning strategies, such as game-based learning, project-based learning, simulation, and much more. It's kind of a broad term, high impact. So we really plan to narrow that down in our first initial meetings with our members. We want to make sure we have a clear definition so that we're not focusing maybe too broadly, and we want to make sure it's a little more narrow. So we do plan to define what that means with our group. From there, that will dictate the topics that we choose for subsequent meetings. So we do plan to structure the meetings to be a little more specific about a specific high impact practice. So through regular meetings, we will work collectively to create meaningful deliverables, as Jiaqi mentioned. Again, we haven't really decided on what those will be just yet, but we will give some examples here in a few minutes. One of the core values that we have discussed in our group is inclusivity. So we will provide resources, support, and inspiration to all members, whether they are experienced educators or maybe brand new and just want to learn more about pedagogy and high impact practices in general. We're not requiring them to implement these things in their classes if they don't want to. If it's more they just want to be a fly on the wall and just hear and listen to these conversations happening, that's great too. So one of our main goals by working together is that we will make a significant impact on the way that we educate healthcare professionals, because luckily, like on our campus, we have such a broad range of healthcare professionals and students who are going into different fields. So it's just nice that we can be able to make all of these great deliverables and ideas for these students to profit from. So hopefully the students on campus will see the fruits of our labor as we continue to work on our community of practice. So with that being said, as Jiaqi mentioned, there are 3 elements of a community of practice. So we did define these for our specific community of practice. So the first one is domain, which Jiaqi told us is a domain of knowledge creates common ground and a sense of common identity. So to answer this question, we identified that our community of practice will focus on high impact practices like gamification, simulation, team-based learning, inquiry-based learning, project-based learning. Again, the list goes on and on and on. So that's why we will define that in our meeting to be more narrow. To maintain focus too and explore research challenges that will unite this specific goal. To attract members, we'll create a mission statement aligned with HSC values, and we'll include that in promotional materials. Anything that we make, we'll include that mission statement in so that we have a clear vision with our community. So we have also been researching other communities of practice in higher education to kind of decide on how we want to structure this and what's the best practices in communities of practices in general. You'll probably notice the word practices a lot in this presentation. Okay, so next, we know that this wouldn't be a community or a community of practice without a community, since this creates the social fabric of learning. So with this in mind, we really paid attention to how we wanted to be inclusive with this community. So we will foster a welcoming, inclusive environment by offering hybrid opportunities. So we know that everyone's not always on campus, and we want everyone to be able to join this community and that is on our campus. So we'll have hybrid opportunities to ensure that all have access to our resources. To ensure regular interaction, we will use an online folder for sharing resources and plan meetings for the entire year up front so that the members know exactly where what our structure will be. So ongoing communication and collaboration will be facilitated through hybrid meetings and the online platform for asynchronous interactions. Because like Jiaqi mentioned, it's not always about joining the meetings every month. Maybe some people just want to be able to find the resources and just know that they have this community if they need it. Okay. Lastly, our community of practice practices. So as we mentioned, the practice is a set of frameworks, ideas, tools, styles, or documents that community members share. So we decided that our community of practice will produce deliverables. We, again, haven't narrowed that down because we haven't really met with our members just yet. Whenever we meet with them starting this fall, we will narrow down exactly what we want these deliverables to be. But, you know, the list goes on and on. We could stick to an internal resource. We could do conference proposal, you know, research repository, whatever it is that our group wants to do. So we will focus on best practices in research, educational technology, and presentations using EdTech tools such as Canva, such as Vbox, to facilitate these meetings so that we are modeling best practices as well as discussing them. So knowledge sharing will be available through our online platform. And we will provide, you know, meeting minutes, regular communication to ensure that everyone is up to date with the latest for our community of practice. We will refine practices by evolving research, analyzing student outcomes if we decide to implement some of these high impact practices within classes on campus, and conducting surveys to make sure that the members of the community are, you know, enjoying this community, that there's not something that it's missing, or that was something we could be doing better as co-leaders. So setting our mission and our objectives from the very first meeting will ensure that we are on track to best practices within the community practice. So before I hand it off to Darla, I did see another question in the chat. So the question says, will IDs from any institution join the high impact practices community of practice? If so, how could that be done? So I will actually refer to Jiaqi for this question since she is kind of spearheading this Scholarship of Teaching and Learning Collective.
Yes, thank you for the question. Our tentative plan for the next year is like this program is only internal facing because this is also our first time piloting the entire program, but we do have the plan to open it up to other institutions for next year. So just stay tuned maybe about our program, and we probably next summer we will announce that and try to open it up to other institutions. But if you're an instructional designer, I also recommend you check out a website called ID to ID. So this is an existing virtual community practice has been established by EDU costs about a couple of years ago. I'm also one of the advisory committee member. So if you want to reach out to me privately after the conference, I would be happy to share more about the experience for that ID to ID virtual community practice. Thank you.
Okay, so I will now pass it over to Darla to talk more about the logistics of our meetings.
Hi, everyone. So Reagan and I have had several pre-launch meetings to explore high impact practices and what that means to us, because it was new to me, although you know you do it, but then it's not really have a label to it. So we met with Jiaqi and really gained her perspective and her vision as well. And we reflected within the context of the domain. So that's a framework. And so like, who knew, right? Frameworks are actually really helpful. As a dissertation student, sometimes I'm like, oh, another theory, but this has really been helpful to really think about high impact practices and the community of practice. So we've talked about topics several times and what that means to us. We're like, okay, so high impact, that we want the learner to be engaged. We perhaps want to do active learning, but then how do you implement that and what does that mean? So we'll talk about that in our first meeting. We discussed at our pre-launch meetings that goal, like what is our goal? One of the goals that we talked about was we have online learning here. We also have face-to-face learning. So then what does that look like with high impact practices? Can that translate across those different deliveries? So if we come up with gamification or we come up with a simulation, how can that be done in both of those platforms? So that's something that we hope to discuss with our at our first meeting. Hybrid meetings, we want to be inclusive. That was one of our main goals when we talked about the domains. We want, if people can't attend and be there in person, we want to offer that hybrid meeting as well. But we also would like to get to know each other better. And if that happens face-to-face for some people, or Teams is fine, or Zoom, we want to make this an opportunity for everyone. So we really want to be able to learn from each other. We are an HSC. It's a perfect interprofessional opportunity. So we do want to learn with from these other disciplines around campus. Review of literature. Our librarian is part of our community of practice. So we asked her questions and they got back to us instantly. And so we were able to really dive into the research ourselves to figure out like what is community of practice. So she was able to get us some articles and we were able to look. And then I'll talk about in just a little bit how we're going to use the literature that we found. We want a shared space for collaboration. So we're going to use Teams. We use Teams here at HSC. We want to be able to every meeting post those meeting minutes so people that can't be there can really stay up to date and also see what's going on. We'll post, live documents that we want to share. We'll post Padlets so people can see and experience the meeting even though they can't attend. So next slide, Reagan. So our first meeting format, we've met and we talked about that. We want to have icebreakers, of course, and find out, what discipline everyone is from, kind of, get to know each other. Because like I said, we're founding here, we're new. And so we don't know anybody. So I was real excited to be a part of this SOTL so that I could get to know other people on campus that love education and the pedagogy of education as much as I do. So I'm real excited about that. We want to define what high impact practices are. So we want to get together as a group and really distill down what that means to the group. Again, is it for online delivery, face-to-face delivery? And then for our meetings, we're also going to have homework, not to scare anybody away, but that's when we want to use that review of literature. We want to assign some articles, very short, maybe 5 to 10 pages, look at those articles, see if there's a gap. Is there a gap in this high impact practices? What can we do within this group to really give back to the literature, give back to our scholarship, give back to the high impact practices? So we're real excited about that. We have found some articles that we can discuss and have really enriched scholarly discussions. And then again, we talked about creating a mission statement. We're planning on doing that on a Padlet. I know sometimes mission statements can be kind of dry, but we're really hoping that we can make this exciting and get, what does this mean to people? What do they want from this? And how does it align with our HSC mission? So that's something that we're going to do. And we can focus. We just have an academic year to really work on this, but we want it to continue. And so what's that focus? What are we going to go back to? So we are going to schedule our meetings for the whole academic year so that we want to lock in those dates because we know as busy university settings, something else is always going to take the place. So we want to make this a priority, hopefully. Next slide, please. And so our deliverables, it's one thing you say, okay, we're going to do research. Well, with high impact practices, when it's an academic year, it may take us this whole academic year to decide what we really want to do. What is that high impact practice? And so we implement it in our classroom, whether online or face-to-face, and we may not have data until the next academic year. So we're fully aware that some of this may take time, but we do hope that maybe next conference season that we can go to a conference presentation and talk about what we've come up with our deliverables, what high impact practice. We hope that one of the deliverables is that we're building relationships and that we have these rich collaborations. Maybe we get together and we're like, we think of one high impact, maybe it's gamification, but then we all want to do a simulation together with our students. So it's really kind of ongoing. A team manuscript would be amazing if we could decide, get a high impact practice. What's that deliverable? What's that activity in the classroom you're going to do? Because as we see it, our classroom is our lab. And then hopefully we're coming up with the next best creative solution. What is it? Is it a game? Is it a simulation? Is it what are we going to look at? So we're real excited about that. So we want to create a repository of ideas for faculty. We may come up with a lot of ideas that within our mission statement that people can pull from and they can use in their classroom. So we're going to start planning our research questions now, implementing some of our ideas as early as spring 2025, collect data as we go, but we really see this as an evolving community of practice that won't be finished at the end of the school year. We're just getting started and the best will be yet to come. Next slide, Reagan. So we have had marketing across campus, our amazing instructional design team. We have a media team. And so they've come up with this high impact flyer that faculty can, do the QR code and find out more. And then Reagan and I created a video with the help of our media team. Reagan did the script and I just showed up. So she's going to show it to y'all in just a second.
Welcome. My name is Reagan Laborde, and I'm with the Division of Academic Innovation. We are so excited to introduce the High Impact Practices Community of Practice, part of the HSC Scholarship of Teaching and Learning Collective. This community is all about enhancing educational experiences through active learning and project-based learning.
Our goal is to create a collaborative environment where educators can share and develop high-impact teaching practices. You'll be part of a vibrant community focused on research and innovation in health science education.
We will have monthly virtual meetings, ensuring everyone has a chance to participate and contribute. And we will use cutting-edge tools to facilitate ongoing communication and collaboration.
One of the key purposes of our community is to work towards a group final deliverable, such as a report, proposal, or a manuscript. This allows us to document and share our collective knowledge, contributing to the broader field of health science education.
By joining, you'll have the opportunity to engage with. I think for time purposes, I'll end it there. Thank you so much, Darla, for explaining all of the wonderful things we have planned for this community of practice. So we do have one more poll if everyone has time. One second. So this one is just about, anything that you can take back maybe to your campus or ideas that you have. So let's see, there we go. So I did see a question that I think maybe Jiaqi answered in the chat. Yeah. Thank you, Jiaqi. Yeah, so I was going to say the same thing, about what the deliverables might be about. I think that this is up to our members. We don't want to, force our members to decide on one specific community one specific high impact practice. We want it to be what they want it to be. So hopefully we will decide that pretty early on in our meetings. But yeah, it's going to be whatever our group wants it to be.